So what I found clinically and personally is that your young person might be using anger as a mask. Well, in fact, they're very likely to be using anger as a mask. You know, anger is very complex emotion and it often comes mixed up with many other emotions like anxiety, fear, stress, sadness. Anxiety is a big one. You know, I remember when my son first started year 7 in the middle of COVID, he was very angry. He had a really long angry phase, which he's now thankfully moved well out of. But it was anxiety. It was anxiety driven. It was, you know, there was changing schools and things were changing in terms of school routine. I mean, he went in as a key worker, but school routine and who was allowed in and bubbles and all of that changed constantly. And there was just so much uncertainty. So, you know, I took some time to understand that it was a mask, and it helped me to deal with it more effectively, I would say. And sadness as well, I think, is a really common one. And it can be just the simplest thing where the reaction comes out as anger rather than sadness. So just things like, you know, I got left out of my group. I didn't get invited to a party that all my friends got invited to, and feeling really sad. You can easily see how that can come across as anger. It can be expressed as anger sometimes. And again, you being the parent, you being the safe space, safe person, it may just come out as angry about something. They might not even be talking about the party, but it might come out as anger that you didn't wash their PE kit. But yeah, so it's very hard to look under the surface, and we'll talk about that a bit more in a minute. But I wanted to say that the other thing to mention is that your young person, depending on how much insight they have into their own emotions, ability to understand their own emotions, they might be angry, but not really know why, or not really know that there might be other emotions going on as well. Like, they might not be very good at this stuff yet. You know, they might be very anxious about something, and it might be really obvious to you that they're anxious because they're about to start their GCSEs or whatever, but they might have no clue whatsoever. So one thing that we can do is help them become more aware. So help increase their awareness by things like the 3 states model that we talked about at the beginning, but also labeling. So they're just pointing out and naming the emotion. So things like, and don't do this probably don't do this at the height of their anger, but maybe when their anger has peaked and come down, it might be, gosh, I noticed that today you've been you've seemed much more angry than usual. And maybe that's because this week you've got 3 exams and you might be feeling a bit apprehensive or a bit anxious about those exams. Do you think there's something in that? So labeling can be really helpful. You're just gradually increasing insight and awareness, I would say.